Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Diriye Nashtaprahi Shavadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, Maharaj Nimi meets the 9 Yogendras, text 49, and we were in the middle of the commentary on text 49. So Srila Madhvacharya has given an elaborate description of the process by which material miseries arise. When a conditioned soul of demoniac mentality identifies himself with the gross material body, he undergoes miseries of constant drowsiness and unquenchable sexual desires that burn all mental peace and serenity to ashes. Madhvacharya is giving very heavy dose here. It burns. Why? All unquenchable sexual desires. And that too happens when we are identifying ourselves with this body, which we are not. So the goal of life becomes, I have to satisfy this body, satisfy the senses. And in return, what happens? It burns all mental peace and serenity to ashes. Cannot be peaceful anymore. When a demoniac person identifies himself with prana, life air, he suffers from hunger. And by identifying himself with the mind, he suffers panic, fear, and hankering that ends in disappointment. And this disappointment leads to what? Frustration, depression, and then all kinds of diseases in the body. Liver can go bad, kidneys can go bad, lungs, pancreas, heart problem, this problem, that, bones problem. All starts with stress, anxiety, depression, tension. And the stress is because my desires are not fulfilled. That's where it all starts. When he identifies himself with intelligence, he suffers profound existential bitterness and frustration deep within his heart. When he identifies himself with the false ego, he feels inferiority, thinking, I am so low. And when he identifies himself with the process of consciousness, he is haunted by memories of the past. When a demon tries to impose himself as a ruler of all living beings, all of these miseries expand simultaneously. So there is no way that a person can have peaceful life. According to Shripad Madhvacharya, sinful life is a demoniac standard for happiness. We can observe that in demoniac societies, the dark, late hours of night are considered most appropriate for recreational activity, because the darkness, that time is very good for mode of ignorance. And this is what they enjoy, because ignorance. We are in ignorance, so timing has to be of ignorance. The place has to be conducive for those ignorant activities. So the places like brothels, bars, pubs, clubs. That's where demoniac people think, this is so much of enjoyment. When a demon hears that someone is rising at 4 o'clock in the morning to take advantage of the godly early morning hours, he's astonished and bewildered. Therefore, it is said in Bhagavad Gita, Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutana, Tasyam Jagrati Samyami. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for the self-control. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Srila Prabhupada has commented, there are two classes of intelligent men. The one is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Because the more one can increase illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, the more one advances his prestige in a demoniac society. Whereas in a godly society based on Krishna consciousness, these things are abolished completely. Similarly, as one becomes blissfully attached to the holy name and pastimes of Krishna, one becomes more and more alienated from the demoniac society. And this alienation, it just develops on its own because one is getting attached to Krishna. Same person, earlier he might be really enjoying the company at night with all these demoniac people. But now if somebody becomes Krishna or is starting to become Krishna conscious, and he doesn't even like to see those places or those people. Forget about going there. The demons are self-proclaimed enemies of the Supreme Lord and mock his kingdom. Thus they are described by Srila Madhvacharya as adhogate, or those who have purchased the tickets to the darkest regions of hell. On the other hand, if one is undisturbed by the miseries of material life, he is on the same spiritual level as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Means he is on the same spiritual level, he is on a Brahman level. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:15, O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. One can come to this transcendental stage only by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the words of Srimad Madhvacharya, Sampurna Grihada Vishnu, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has described the process by which one becomes an Uttam Adhikari. If one is fortunate, he gradually becomes disgusted with the limited vision and activities of the Kanishta Adhikari, and learns to appreciate the expanded vision of the Madhyam Adhikari, who is able to recognize that every living entity should become a devotee of Krishna, and that one achieves the perfection of life by following in the footsteps of an Uttamadhikari devotee of the Lord. So this is how we make progress. As one's devotional service gradually intensifies and one repeatedly bathes in the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, the harassment of birth, death, hunger, thirst, fear, and so on gradually cease disturbing the mind. As stated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Alabdeva Vinashteva. That is, even if a devotee is frustrated in his attempt to eat properly or clothe himself properly, he should not allow this material failure to disturb his mind. Rather, he should use his intelligence to remember his master, Lord Krishna, and thus remain undisturbed. As one becomes mature in his process of remembering Krishna in all circumstances, he is awarded the title Mahabharata. So one has to remain undisturbed in any situation, in every condition of life. And the testing conditions will be there, will definitely be there. And that's what Prabhupada, someplace he said, the test of a person who is advanced is to see how he remains unprovoked or how he tolerates the provoking situations. So provoking situations will definitely be there, but the test is how one remains, how one tolerates those, or how one remains undisturbed. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the example that just as a child's ball may be fastened to the end of a rope so that it cannot bounce away, a devotee who surrenders to Krishna becomes tied to the rope of Vedic injunctions and is never lost in worldly affairs. It's a nice example that, like, we used to play with the ball tied at the rope and then do catching or whatever. So the ball can only go to certain distance. So if we are surrendered, then it means we are tied to the Vedic injunctions. So whatever we do, that would be within the limits given by the Vedas, not beyond. So never lost in the worldly affairs. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has quoted from the Rig Veda as follows. O Vishnu, your name is completely transcendental. Thus it is self-manifested. Indeed, even without properly understanding the glories of chanting your holy name, if we vibrate your name with at least a small understanding of its glories, that is, if we simply repeat the syllables of your holy name, gradually we shall understand it. The supreme entity indicated by the pranav Om is Sat, or self-revealing. Therefore, even if one is disturbed by fear or envy, the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will become manifest to one who continues to chant the Lord's holy name. I mean, then one slowly makes progress towards becoming an Uttamadhikari. So one who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, just like Ajamil did, or jokingly for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all the learned scholars of the scriptures. So, immediately becoming freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. This is how powerful holy name is, because it's not different from Krishna. But our goal is not just to get free from the reactions of unlimited sins. Our goal is to achieve Krishna Prema. That's why we have to chant sincerely without committing offenses. That is a process. That is a real process. You have to chant attentively. And there are 10 kinds of offenses to the holy name that we recite every morning to remind us we're not supposed to commit those offenses. While chanting or after, before chanting also. Text 50. Na kam karma bijana yasya chetasi sambhava vasudeva niklayam savai bhagavatuttama. Somebody got unmuted. One who has taken exclusive shelter of the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva, becomes free from fruitive activities, which are based on material lust. In fact, one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord is freed from even the desire to enjoy material sense gratification. Plans for enjoying sex life, social prestige, and money cannot dwell up within his mind. Thus, he is considered Bhagavat Uttama, a pure devotee of the Lord on the highest platform. The activities of a pure devotee are devoid of material envy, false elation, delusion, and lust. The activities of pure devotee are devoid of material envy, false elation, delusion, and lust. According to the Vaishnava commentators, the word Bijanam in this verse refers to vasana, or deeply rooted desires, which gradually fructify in the form of activities for which the living entity becomes subject to reactions. So the desires, it is said. So before any activity, something that goes on in the mind, that is called thinking. We think about something that I want to enjoy this, then feel like thinking and then feeling, and then it is willing. Willing means then it becomes very strong desire that yes, I'm going to do it. and then becomes the action. So thinking, feeling, willing, and action. So, so deeply rooted desires, they slowly they come out. They are so the idea is our intelligence should be sharp enough that we, as they say, nip it at the bud. Means we just stop it, cut it at the bud only. Means that at thinking part only, we should stop it. No, I'm not going to do it. It's gradually fructify in the form of activities for which the living entity becomes subject to reactions. So we do the actions and we have to get the reactions. Thus, the compound word kama karma bijanam indicates the deep-rooted desire to lord it over the material world through the enjoyment of sexual pleasure and the expansions of sexual pleasure mentioned in Bhagavatam as Greek Kshetra Sutat Vidya. That is a beautiful residential building and ample land for producing sumptuous food to fill the belly, as well as children, friends, social contacts, and a large bank balance. It starts with what? Our desire to enjoy the sexual pleasure. And further, it expands. To have a wife, then you have to have a house, have to have family, then ample land. Okay, it was ample land for producing sumptuous food, or to have a job, proper job, to have a steady income. And then the children will come, and then the friends and the social contacts, and the family keeps on growing, and that we need a large bank balance to take care of the family now and the future needs of the family. And it's a never-ending cycle. Start with what? One desire. That's it. All of these material items are essential for completely forgetting that one is an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, as stated in the Bhagavatam, Janasya moho ayam aham mameti. Intoxicated by these objects of material illusion, the conditioned soul becomes madly convinced that he is a center of the universe and that everything in existence has been created only for his personal sense gratification. Whoever obstructs such illusory enjoyment becomes immediately his enemy and subject to be killed. So we start thinking, or a conditioned living entity, you start thinking, this is my universe. I'm the center of this universe, this family, this social circle. It is completely intoxicated by material illusion. That's all it is. And this is how we are living. And actually, that has become the parameter of success. Kali Yuga, we'll study in 12th canto. One of the symptoms of Kali Yuga is if you are successful, if you can take care of your family properly. Take care means financially take care of them. Otherwise, you're not successful. If you renounce everything and become a sadhu, go to Vrindavan, then you're not successful. You're a failure. Our friends and family members, relatives might come and see you once in a while, and they'll talk about, oh, how nice he is. He has become a sadhu, but they don't care. Behind your back, they'll be talking bad about you. And the proof is they don't want to do it themselves either. They will talk about it. Oh, it's very nice. But when we ask them, okay, why don't you also start chanting? No, it's not for me. You do it. Because of this bodily concept of life and the shackles of illusion, the whole world is being violently shaken by conflict arising from envy and lust. The only possible solution is to accept the leadership of the Lord's pure devotees who are described here. A popular expression used to justify democratic government is power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Such homilies may be valid on the material platform, but it's specifically mentioned here that a pure devotee of the Lord, who has completely taken shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, cannot even consider taking part in material envy and sense gratification. His mind remains perpetually clear and sober, and is always aware of the ultimate good of every living entity. Always aware of the ultimate good. The Krishna consciousness movement is strenuously endeavoring to inform the earth's suffering living entities of the serious need for a brain in human society. A brain racked by fever cannot give proper direction, and if the so-called thinkers of society are burning with selfish desires, they are no better than feverish, delirious brains. Delirious governments are gradually destroying all traces of happiness in human society. Therefore, it's a duty of Vaishnava preachers to act on the platform of Bhagavatamma, so that they can give clear guidance to humanity without being corrupted or even slightly attracted by material opulence that may be offered to a saintly person. All intelligent human beings who are unable to take directly to the process of Bhakti Yoga should at least be sufficiently educated to recognize a first-class devotee of the Lord and accept his guidance. This is the only way to bring about peace and some kind of sanity in the society. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has emphasized that those seriously interested in achieving the perfection of Krishna consciousness must live in a community of Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada has also mentioned several times in his literature, it's not possible to achieve the stage of perfect Krishna consciousness unless one accepts the shelter of the pure devotees by living in Krishna conscious communities, being established all over the world by his form. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has emphasized that this does not mean that spiritual life is restricted only to those celibate students who can live within a temple compound. So it's open for everybody, grihasthas, vanaprasthas, brahmacharis, sannyasis. All we have to do is give up our material envy and the desire for sense gratification by engaging in service of Krishna. Those who are living in family life should daily see the deity of the Supreme Lord, chant his holy names in his personal presence, accept the remnants of food offered to the deity, and hear learned discourses on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Any householder who regularly takes advantage of these spiritual facilities and follows the regulative principles of spiritual life, namely no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no intoxication, is to be considered a bona fide member of the Vaishnava community. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, those who remain inimical to the devotional service of the Lord are to be considered lifeless puppets in the hands of Maya. So the process is there, how to make advancement. And if we don't take up the process, then we are just puppets, lifeless puppets in the hands of Maya. Or different names are given, just like a doll in the hands of, or living like a lusty dog. So many examples are given. But we have been given the process very mercifully by Srila Prabhupada, and he has tailored everything for our needs, for our progress. All we have to do, just follow it. Okay, so I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you mentioned about the person who takes care of his family in Kali Yuga, he is successful as per Kali Yuga quotes. I think
And that's, yeah.
there are so many others. Like somebody is wealthy, so in Kali Yuga he is treated as he is the most wise man, or he is the most क्या बोलते हैं
Yeah,
उसको?
that also is there.
बुद्धिमान.
Yeah, that also is there. Yeah. People will only listen to him.
Yeah. So
This is sign of Kali Yuga. And this is just the beginning of Kali Yuga. Imagine what will happen towards the end. Or not when the Kali Yuga is really at its peak. Then what will happen?
my goodness. It's already given. Once I visited at the peak of Kali Yuga, the size of people will be very small. It's like they can, क्या वो चने के खेत में they can hide, and
Yeah, 2-3
it's
feet
like
only.
fireballs will be thrown from the sky or something like that. Sort of imagine it. It's those dangerous, things were there.
Yeah, it will all happen. It will happen. Yes.
No grains, no food. Man will eat man.
They'll only eat each other.
Yeah. Horrific, bro.
It sounds very horrible, but at the same time, we have been through many Kali Yugas before. Many Kali Yugas.
Yeah.
We didn't learn our lesson. Okay, anyway, by Prabhupada's mercy, now we can learn better.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.